yourself Irish twins. We lived in a house that our father had built over a barn on Vashon Island, 40 acres at the very top part of the island. We had no neighborhood children. You bet. So Edie and I were very close. May Renee was 3 years younger than I was, so she was always an add-on to our games. Sometimes we weren't very nice to her. On Sunday, Mom would dress us up like living American Girl dolls, and we would go to church. Prissy dresses, white gloves, black patent leather shoes. Our regular days, we wore jeans and t-shirts and went barefoot all summer. Edie was always in charge, the one who must be obeyed. We had endless adventures, safaris to the picnic rock. We were very imaginative in our naming. Or the very top of the big tree. A big tree which was an oak in a land of conifers. We had this big oak tree, immense, in our, just off to a little bit of a hiking distance from the house. But we would hike over to the big rock. We had very imaginative, we would make day-long forays to the, I could do better if I had my glasses on, to the ravine. There was 40 acres. There were houses on the front part, and then it went up to the top of the hill, and then down the back into the ravine. We'd pack a lunch of Franco-American spaghetti, so we always had to remember a can opener. And then if we remembered, we stuffed toilet paper into our pockets so that, because we were gone all day. We'd wait until the sun was at a certain point in the sky, and if we didn't turn back at that point, the sun would go down and we'd be out after dark. But he was always in charge. We made elaborate camps under mountainous blackberry bushes. And if you've never done that, if you get under the top of the bushes, there's just these big vines and lots of space in between. So we would make stickerless tunnels, and we had great complicated rooms under the blackberry bushes. And the other bushes we'd like to camp under were vetch, which is kind of a sticky leafed vine with sweet pea-like flowers. And we would have those great, our clubhouse, when we were like 5, 6, 7, 8, was the truck that our folks had come west in from Illinois, just after the Second World War. And it was kind of piled high like grapes of wrath. And we all came east from, they lived in Joliet, and Renee and I were talking the other night, and we think their purpose was to kind of start over. Our uncle Philip was a Presbyterian man. Our uncle Richard Dick was a Presbyterian minister on Vashon Island, and I think they went to Vashon Island because he was there. Well, one day, a family moved in. We didn't have very many children that we played in. And the mom and this little girl, on a Tuesday, she was dressed in her Sunday school prissy dress. Her hair had curls down the side, and she had on her Sunday patent leather shoes, and the moms were sitting and having tea. And this was the era of, if the parents told you to sit and be quiet, you sat, you were quiet, you said nothing. And so we sat and we fidgeted, and they said, why don't you girls go out and play? So we went out to our camp in the truck that by this time had been turned upside down. And we crawled in through the broken windows, the broken glass had been removed. But we crawled in with, the seat was up here, and we were sitting on the roof, but we could still drive the steering wheel. And we get in there and we take road trips to Lord knows where. But we had colors out there, and we'd play out there for hours. So we took this little girl and her long, curly red hair. We took her out to our camp. And we said, okay, well, what should we play? And she said, let's play beauty shop. And Edie said, okay, I'll be the beauty shop lady. Edie was, maybe 6. I was probably 5. Well, I'll be the beauty shop lady. Okay. How would you like your hair done? And this little girl, dressed to the nines on Tuesday, said, I'd like it shorter, please. And I am, I was always the assistant. Dracula, or Igor, Batman's Robin. I was always the second. And so I fished out the blunt-nosed kindergarten scissors, and we cut her hair. And this was waist-long, beautiful red hair. We cut it down. I think it was less than shoulder length. When we went back into the house, we were all proud of our work. We thought we were really good. And the neighbor shrieked. She shrieked and grabbed her shorn lamb and raced out of the house. And they moved away soon after that. When Edie was 10, I was 9, Renee was 5. Voldemort, Zorn, our great evil, came into our lives. We called it the book. And the book we would we played war games to conquer the book. I hope I don't offend anybody. The book was Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. And it was our great evil. And we, to this day, feel like it was our great evil. And so we would play war games. Good versus evil games. We were the superheroes. Edie, of course, was the leader. Her superhero name was Louis September. I was Friday, and Renee was the gopher. Renee, go for this. Go get us that. So she was the gopher. We would make throaty guttural noises to warn us when the book was near, like, and then we would zap with, like Star Wars weapons. And Renee remembers us playing war games, crawling on our stomachs across the lawn, and Renee would raise her head to see what it was that we were looking at, and Edie would push her head down and say, get down! So she would. We made annual trips to Seattle for clothes. Edie and I, this was when we were young teenagers, and usually we shopped at Sears and Roebuck or J.C. Penney's. So we went and scoped out what's there, but we would scope out what we liked, and at the end of the day, we'd actually buy something. So we look at all this stuff at J.C. Penney's, and we see what we can afford. And she said, why don't we go to the Bon Marché? And I said, we can't afford anything at the Bon Marché. It was a Macy's-like store. And she said, well, just look. I said, okay. Next, she suggested Nordstrom's, even more fancy. And then she said, let's go to I. Magnon's. I don't even know if I. Magnon's exists any longer, but it was one of these stores where you go in and they bring things to you. Yeah. So here we are at I. Magnon's, and I'm trying to become my shadow. And she walks in, and she announces that we are there to scope out what the latest styles are because our folks are on a cruise and they don't want to waste time when they get back shopping, so we need to pick out what we want. And I go, and so we do it. We do it. They bring us all these clothes, and they had to know that we were silly teenagers from the boondocks. But they went along with us. They brought us all these cool things to try on, and they were wacko wild. We'd never wear them, but we had a great time. The scene was replayed years later at my sister Michelle's wedding. And I was a little overweight then. I'm a lot overweight now, but I was just a little overweight then. And so I didn't want to buy a new dress because certainly I'd lose weight. And I didn't want a dress that was too big. And so Edie says, well, what are you going to wear to the wedding? And I showed her my dress, and she said, you're not wearing that frumpy thing. And I said, well, I can't afford to go buy a new dress. And she rolls her eyes at me, and she says, I will buy you a dress. So we go down to the mall, and from the mall we go into this department store. You know how department stores, you walk in and you're in the cosmetics and the purses and whatever, and you have to get through all that before you actually get directed to actual clothes. We're right there in the cosmetics. And she says, in her full drum queen voice, my sister needs a dress. Once again, I tried to become my shadow. And I thought, surely doom would have us. But once again, all these salespeople appeared and they started bringing us dresses. And she bought me a wonderful teal blue dress that I still own. And she just bought it for me. The last story I'll tell you about was years later. I had gone to school, I became a teacher, but before I got a real job, I was a substitute. And as a substitute, they call you at 5 o'clock in the morning and they say, can you go to Count Meridian School and blah, 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 and you say, okay, and so you get on your school costume and go off to be the teacher for the day. And so I'm at school and they call me to the office. My sister Edie is on the phone. I think, oh my goodness, something terrible has happened. She says, Joey, I am in Eastern Washington, Yakima, and there's going to be, an eclipse is going to happen. She traveled across the country on a bus to get to Yakima. And she says, the eclipse is going to happen this afternoon. You still have time to get here. And I said, Edie, I'm at work. And she says, well, tell them you can't work today. And I said, no, Edie, I'm committed to work today. I really can't come. And she says, oh, for heaven's sakes, Joanne. So usually I'm Joey, but if she's being stern with me, I'm Joanne. She says, Joanne, you go get your kids, get them out of school. You have enough time to get to Yakima. I said, Edie, I can't take the kids out of school to go to Yakima. That's going to take some preparation, the car, the gas, And she said, well, I can't help it if you don't have good priorities. And I have to admit at this point, she was right. I don't remember what I taught that day. The kids don't remember what they learned at school that day, but we would have remembered the eclipse. Edie was our family's Marco Polo. She was the one to go out and have adventures and see things and do the things that really mattered. And I was always